Most people aren't afraid of speaking. They're afraid of being put on the spot. They're afraid of not having anything prepared. They're afraid of blanking out during a speech or during a high-stake conversation. That's what impromptu speaking is all about. The ability to stay calm, confident, and in control, even when you're not fully prepared. In this video, I'll show you how to do that with a system that works. Let's get into it. So what is impromptu speaking to begin with? Impromptu speaking is the ability to talk about something that you're not fully prepared for. So now you're asking yourself, what do I do when I'm asked something on the spot? The first thing you have to do is just pause. Listen to the question, repeat it back to the person to make sure you understand what they're asking. This is your one opportunity to clarify what you're about to answer. If you don't do this, then you will be answering a question that is not asked of you, and you will be giving a response that is not valuable to the other person. The other thing that happens when you pause, listen, and repeat the question is that it's buying you time at the end of the day. Only after this step, then we can start to answer the question. This is where we go into the next step, step number 2. In these high stress situations, when you're asked something that is unexpected, structure becomes your safety net and something you can rely on. Let's talk about 2 different types of structures that you can follow. The first structure that I'm going to introduce to you is called STAR: situation, task, action, result. This structure is most commonly used in interviews, Q&As, and short responses to quick questions that are being asked. The benefit of the STAR structure is that it's very easy to follow and you do it naturally even without thinking about the checklist that you have to go through. The first step in STAR is that we have to discuss the situation that we're facing. The second step is task. Here you will explain the specific task or goal you were responsible for in that specific situation. The third step is action. What actions did you specifically take to address the task, goal, or the situation in general? And then we get to the fourth step, the result. What was the outcome and result of the situation, and what happened because of the actions you took for the tasks you were responsible for? Using the STAR method, you can show your skills and capabilities through a well-structured, impactful manner to the person asking the question. The second structure that I recommend using is PIOCEE: problem, information, option, select, execute, evaluate. PIOCEE's first step is the problem. You have to clearly identify and define the problem that you are facing. The second step is information. This is where you have to gather all the information and data that is relevant to your problem. The third step is options. This is where you put together a list of potential options or courses of action that you could take to resolve the problem that you're faced with. The fourth step is select. This is where you select the best option based on the gathered information and the potential outcomes of the decision that you will make. The fifth step is execute. This is where you will implement the chosen solution. Step number 6 and the last step is evaluate, and oftentimes the most overlooked one. This is where you will monitor the results, reassess the situation, and make any changes if they're necessary. PIOCEE is the preferred structure to use in those more in-depth and technical questions and prompts that are being asked of you. The structure of PIOCEE allows for you to analyze, process, and reflect in a structured manner. Using one of these 2 models, you're not scrambling to get an answer out. You have a structure to follow and a checklist to go through, and it just becomes a fill-in-the-blank exercise for you to do mentally. Let's say you've completely blanked out. What do you do? This is when you have to resort back to your systems. Figure out what type of question is being asked and just put it into one of the models that I mentioned. Using STAR, PIOCEE, or even a storytelling-based structure will help you stay composed and in control even when it feels like you're not. And I cannot stress this enough. Repeat the question back to the person asking the question. This gives you time and it gives you clarity. So let me give you an exercise to do so this becomes a little bit more natural for you. Record yourself. Pretend you're talking to somebody behind the camera. Pick a topic you know well and record yourself giving the cliff notes of that entire topic or subject within 30 seconds. Then what I want you to do is go back and watch those 30 seconds of you talking and ask yourself these following questions. What did I say? And compare that to what you had written down. Did I miss anything? Why did I choose the things that I talked about? Once you've done that, try the exact same thing with a topic that you don't know anything about. Trust me when I say this. It's much better for you to practice it on your own than to be put on the spot and you don't know what to say. When you're practicing this with a topic that you don't know anything about, I want you to keep your structure, maintain your composure, and be creative in the responses that you're giving. The key thing here with this exercise is that you have to build a mental framework that works for you. Once you've built this framework, recognize the fact that it will not stay the same over time and it will change. Once you build this mental framework, you can be confident that you have a safety net to rely on when you're faced with a difficult question or prompt that you have to talk about. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake that usually happens in an impromptu situation. The biggest mistake is that you do not answer the question. Oftentimes what happens is that the nerves kick in and you start thinking a response and speaking the response even before the person is finished talking. As a result, what comes out is just gibberish, not a solid structured response. This is how it usually goes. Person A is asking a multi-part in-depth question. While they're asking this question, person B is already formulating a response in their head mid-sentence of person A based on the first and middle parts of the question that person A is asking. Then what happens is that person A finishes asking that question and then person B suddenly starts talking about the response. When person B answers the question, they're only answering the first part of what person A was asking. The result of it is that person A feels like there's a disconnection between what they asked and what they got, which then leads on to confusion. In this situation, there has been a case of miscommunication. Person A feels disconnected from the answer that person B gave, and person B is confused at why person A is not receptive to the answer that they just gave. This results in a wasted opportunity between the two, and maybe the question is never answered fully. Let me be clear about one thing. If you genuinely do not know anything, it's perfectly fine to say, I don't know. You can use one of these following answers when you don't know what to say. The first one being, this is out of my scope, but I will look into it for you. The second response that you can use is, I'm not sure about that right now. I can follow up with you at a later time. The third response is, I don't want to give you the wrong information right now, so let me get back to you. Now in all these three responses, we left the door open to come back and revisit the topic at a later date. In this scenario, what we've done is that we've shown integrity, but we were honest about our limitations. Integrity is honesty with confidence. You're not expected to know everything. So if you're faced with this situation, stay calm and composed and give an honest and genuine answer of I don't know and I will get back to you. Now if you remember one thing from this video, let it be this. Take your time. Digest the question or prompt that is asked of you, repeat it out loud and back to the person so you're clear on what is being discussed. Pick a structure to follow, either STAR, PIOCEE, storytelling structure, or one that you come up with by yourself. Once you've picked that structure, just fill in the blanks. Once you've mentally filled in the blanks, then you can speak. And if at the end of the day you followed all those steps and you still don't know, own it. There's nothing wrong with it. And that's a short intro to impromptu speaking. The more you practice it, the easier it will become. So get out there and practice. Put yourself in those difficult scenarios where it's low stakes and you have the opportunity to explore topics that you're not familiar with. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. If you got something out of this, please like. If you want to discuss things a little bit further, drop a comment and tune in by subscribing. Have a good day.